in the chateau, visualizing. I give them something to do.
Do.
Wherever we go, visualizing.
Visualizing.
Little high, burning, visualizing. I feel something to do. It's high, I'm going on it. Visualizing. I feel something to do.
Do.
Peanut butter jelly.
Jelly.
Oh, you some money.
Oh, money.
Peanut butter jelly.
Jelly.
Oh, you some money.
Money.
Oh, Barbara!
Darius!
Welcome to the show!
How the hell are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good. Well, you guys don't know that Barbara and I did the peanut butter and jelly dance twice because I didn't press live the first time.
Yeah, I like saying jelly, and money.
I know, like, I love money and jelly. Well, let's do some housekeeping, guys. Welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh, and boy, do we have a special guest today. One of my favorites of all time, Barbara Yolles.
Darius, you're one of my favorites.
What a special day we're having. Oh my gosh, Barbara Yolles. I had a great guy before this for Sapio, but Barbara, oh my gosh. Barbara, I want to gush over you in a few seconds here, but before we do that, can I do some housekeeping? I'm gonna do housekeeping. So,
okay, sounds
guys,
good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I do now.
Okay, perfect. Guys, like I said, we're the Greatness Machine, and the format of the show is quite simple. We're bringing together change makers from all over the world where they're living their passions to create greatness. And Barbara, my dear friend, is neither short of greatness nor passion. So,
you're so sweet.
We have so much.
Nothing better than the great Darius Mirshahzadeh.
Oh, come on now. Guys, a couple of things. We are live, so start a watch party. If you haven't, press it. Everyone's going to want to see this.
Come on, let's watch.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Like and share.
Guys, ask us questions. I mean, Barbara's pretty hard to nail down. I had to work this one. So you guys got the one and only Barbara Yolles here for like 45 minutes. Like, ask the questions. I got my team on standby. They're going to be shooting questions over to us, so we'll answer them as we get them. But like I said, we have such a special guest. You're like a rock star. I asked you like 10 times, Barbara, do you want to show? You're like, I'm going to do it. And then you're busy. I'm like, Barbara. And I go to your assistant. I'm like, hey, can you get Barbara on the calendar? She's like, yeah, I will. And then you got busy. And I'm like, all right, let me think about this. How am I going to do this? And so I totally strategized because I'm like, I'm getting you on. It's happening.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I think it was that amazing package that you delivered to my door.
That was part of the strategy. I was trying to win you over with the woo.
Right. Woo.
So, did it work? It worked, right?
No better woo than Darius.
And now, for those of you guys that don't notice, in the background here, in mine, to my right, we have a pink unicorn. And if you look over Barbara's left shoulder, it's a matching pink unicorn. So we're pink unicorn twins, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Oh, that's awesome. Guys, I do want to give you some background on Barbara. I do feel very lucky to have you here. And many of you guys who know me and Barbara know that I stalked her for a couple of years to try to get her to come work for my company. And yeah, I did. I'm admitting I was a stalker. But it worked. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the show. But you'll know why. So look, Barbara's a mom of 8, CEO of Ludwig Plus, and a growth expert. She has crazy experience on Madison Avenue, working as a chief growth officer, CMO, as well as CSO of some of the top agencies in the world, including McCann and Campbell Ewald. She's one of the most smartest, most impressive people I've gotten the pleasure of working with in my entire career. And most importantly, Barbara's all about the shoes. So.
All about the shoes, yes.
All about the shoes. Do you have the little sign I got you? I gave that to you, right?
Yeah, I'd have to get up and go grab it from my bag credenza. Of course, it's all about shoes, boots, bags. What's more than that?
Oh my gosh. So how are you doing? My gosh, like so much has gone on in this year so far.
Gosh, it's been a wild year. I mean, a really wild year. As you know, we opened our doors last August and took on quite a handful of clients over the course of the first year. So 15 clients and had just, tremendous growth and, hiring people, building systems, operations, core values. All those good things. And then, of course, COVID hit, and that represented a whole new set of opportunity because we had a lot of clients who needed good communications. I always say a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. So a lot of great communications were developed through the COVID situation. And then, obviously work from home, hybrid, kids, all that stuff we all have to juggle.
So what are you noticing is the biggest difference now post-COVID compared to maybe pre-COVID in the world of marketing, advertising, growth, stuff like that for you with your clients?
I think communication is more important than ever. I think that because people aren't able to interact in person, they have to find new ways to communicate and deliver their message, whether it's in the B2B space or the B2C space. The way you go to market has to be architected in this new world order, and then, marry that up with kind of a new way of working internally. It definitely, presents new challenges, but I look at it as there's always an opportunity in everything like this. So for us, I think we've really leaned in and took advantage of, helping our clients and onboarding new clients through this experience, and helping them find new ways to get their message out, whether it's through social media and doing things like this, or finding new ways to do virtual experiences that, maybe didn't exist before.
Yeah, that's so cool. By the way, you guys, you're really going to want to share this on watch parties. I know we got some people from Ludwig Plus. Ladies, please, gentlemen, please do the watch parties. Everyone needs to know what Barbara knows. It's like I want to go back in time to a simpler time. It was like, I want to say February 2017. It's like a Friday night, and I'm sitting at home, and I'm frustrated. But I've been about 2 years into my stalking of Barbara at this point. And I
didn't know you were stalking me.
Oh, come on.
I don't know if that's creepy or not. I don't know. I got to think about that one, Darius.
It was professional stalking. It was. My heart was in the right place.
Yeah.
I've been a massive admirer of her work at United Wholesale Mortgage, and so I sent her over this in-mail in LinkedIn that was a very thoughtful in-mail, and it said like, here's the top 7 reasons why you need to like have a conversation with me. One of which was my mascot's a pink unicorn. I'm all about growing happiness. I'm a core value-driven organization. And I'll let Barbara take it from here.
Yeah, so I remember that Friday night. And, I don't go to my LinkedIn in-mail a lot, but I think that's a good tool. So just a little side note, in COVID world, I do think LinkedIn in-mails can be effective as long as you use it in an effective manner. And Darius, you did. Because, it's not every day you get an in-mail from a CEO, but a CEO who took time to know who I was, the work I did, wrote it was like a 7 or 8 paragraph email to me, flattered me. So you got me paying attention. And I thought, if somebody took that much time to write something so thoughtful and so make such a connection to me personally, that I owed it to them to respond. So I wrote you back and said, wow, I'm flattered. Sure, we can talk. I had no intentions that it would end up, the way it did. I actually thought it was like, a guy asking me out on a date, and then I was going to pass him off to somebody else. So I had no intention of really taking this seriously. I was like, oh, well, I get, reached out to a lot, and I'll give him somebody else, not me. But you turned woo on, Darius.
Boom.
Oh,
The woo. Yeah, we had this amazing conversation, our first conversation, and then I flew up to see Barbara in Michigan, and this is awesome. And so we met at this really great restaurant called starts with
Phoenicia.
Phoenicia, yeah.
Phoenicia, Lebanese food, best.
So good. And I'm there with my other business partner Ali, and Barbara straight up rolls in late. And I was like, dude, did she just stand us up? Now I flew he flew from California, I flew from Texas. I was convinced we got stood up because we were probably I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes late. Nothing.
Well, don't forget the little secret I learned after, which was you weren't really coming to Detroit to have a meeting with anybody. You made up a whole story that, I've got business in Detroit and I could add on a meeting to meet you. And only to find out later that you came here to meet me.
Purely. It was, I didn't want to look too desperate. I was like, oh yeah, I think I got to be up there to meet with the CEO of Flagstar. Yeah, that's it. Now,
well, the funniest part was that I booked the reservation. I made the reservation, and somehow in my head, maybe I didn't really want to go. Obviously, I kind of in my head thought, it's at 7. And I've got time. I'm going to be on time because I'm kind of notoriously not on time. I've worked on that through the years. And Darius calls me at 6:45, like, hey, are we at the right restaurant? Are you coming?
I was like, if she doesn't pick up her phone, this is bad. But no, it was awesome. You showed up.
Yeah, you break a little pita bread, dip the hummus together. Can't do that now with COVID, right?
No.
But nothing better than a little kibbe and some marketing talk.
Yeah, and then Birmingham became my home away from home. We had many good times doing marketing up there. So Barbara and I worked together. She was the chief strategic officer and chief marketing officer of the Money Source, and it worked out. By the way, that dinner did turn into it was many months of we went to New York and met there.
Mm-hmm.
All when I was on vacation in France with my family. So there was a lot of effort that went into it.
Yeah. Interview. Let's just remember the interview in New York was like a scene from Tony Soprano. Okay.
It was. Yeah.
Hey, could you meet with our chairman and me in New York? And we're going to meet at Tommy Bahama in an interrogation room. And not only that, the day before you sent me an 8-paragraph kind of goals and objectives that you had that you'd like me to talk about the next day. And I think after 5 hours of interview, you said, hey, do you have any questions for us? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to miss the shoes on Madison Avenue, right?
Oh, good times, Barbara. Good times.
Yeah, it was fun, but it was the best decision I ever made. And we did a lot of cool work together. So
definitely, we did amazing work together, and then that turned into Ludwig Plus, which is your current growth agency.
We talked about that from the beginning.
Yeah,
right? Said, hey, maybe one day this could spin off and become something. So
yeah, so Barbara came into TMS and built essentially a growth agency inside TMS, and it was this amazing group, and it was all mostly based out of Michigan, and from that, obviously spawned the new business that you're the CEO of. It spun out into its own company. You're the CEO of that company and really running a women-led organization. And you guys are doing amazing work. And I want to go there. But before we go there, I do want to actually back up. And, I always like to say what people are, their bios and on the show. And mom of 8, mom of 8, you're the chief marketing officer and chief strategic officer and chief growth officer of some of the top agencies in the world. How did all that start? You can pick which direction you want to go in.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I'd be a mom, and then somehow here I am. So I don't know, family's really important to me. I love kids. I have 4 of my own, 4-step. And, I think it's important to make sure women know, and even dads who want to be active parents, that, you can have a very full life. and have a big family and balance it out. You got to have some good help with it too. But yeah, I think it's, why do all this if there isn't a good why, right?
And didn't you have a bunch of siblings growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the youngest of 6 kids, so I'm the baby of the family. I'm really good at playing baby of the family. Like, I think they honestly think like, how does she run a company and do all this? Because when I go home, I completely regress. I can't do anything. I'm like, yeah, sorry, I can't do the dishes. My nails are wet. So.
My favorite story about your family was that you said your father was a very successful business guy in the Maryland, DC area. And in the summers, you guys would go to the shore, and that you said he owned an ice cream parlor on the shore that you had.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. So my dad, took us to this little beach town. It's called Sea Isle City, New Jersey. And it was 4 families from where I grew up, which was right outside of DC, so Bethesda, Maryland. And there were 6 kids, so he didn't want the kids getting into trouble. So he bought an ice cream parlor. My oldest brother was the manager, sister, waitresses, short order cooks, you name it. And I think at the time I was maybe 10. So my mom, who with a complete Southern accent, I'm the youngest of 6, and everybody in my family is from West Virginia. Okay. And she comes down and says, Barbara needs to work, and I'm 10. Okay. So I go down, and like the one thing I hate today more than anything is doing the dishes. And maybe it's because I got traumatized, but they're like, you're the dishwasher. And they'd have me stick my hands in these deep sinks full of ammonia, and I'd come home with raw hands.
Oh no!
Maybe 10 or 11 years old. So then my mom called down and said, "I think washing dishes is not a good idea. Her hands are peeling. Put her at the cash register." So maybe that was really the beginning, right?
Washing. So I didn't know
wash the dishes.
Your mom's from West Virginia. My mom grew up in Western Pennsylvania, which is kind of like Western. I should say that my cousins are going to shoot me. They're like, we're not from like Western Pennsylvanians thumb their nose at West Virginians.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. It's funny when you told me that story. Like I was the opposite. I had to work at my dad's gas station when I was 10. And
I remember that.
Yeah, which is the worst. And so I was like telling my wife, I said, after you told us that story, you told me and Mariah that story, I was like, oh, I totally want to get an ice cream parlor for my kids to work at. That is such cool.
Yeah.
I think every kid should work, and getting to work in that environment more fun.
I like to ask people, what was your first job when I interview them, right?
Yeah.
Because it tells me, what kind of work ethic do you have? Are you going to roll your sleeves and you've had work, or have you led, an entitled life and you don't really like to get your hands dirty, or stick them in ammonia?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Once in a while, you got to stick your hands in ammonia. I mean,
everyone's got to put their hands in ammonia every now and again. So you grew up in kind of a combination of privilege and in working hard, right? Like your dad was super successful.
Yeah, my dad was a self-made man, never went to college, and was very successful. And I think I, as the baby of the family, thought, I want him to look at me and be proud, and I didn't want to just take everything on a silver platter, which I could have. I did. I mean, I shouldn't say. I did a little bit, especially when it came to shopping. But other than that, that's still an issue. I shop a lot, but
I love it.
You've got to have your passions. And for me, I find therapy in that. I love beautiful things. I can't help it. But anyway, yeah. So my dad was a self-made man, very smart, very connected, network from, we would have, people who would come and do things around the house, and they were treated like the family. And then we had celebrities at the dinner table. Like it was a really diverse mix of people. But I think, between my mom and my dad, I got the best of each of them, and I got the best of my 5 brothers and sisters. I was kind of their prodigy.
Yeah. And you were a classical pianist too, weren't you?
Well, yes, I am.
I guess what's
I mean, I
your,
don't do it a
yours?
lot. That's the problem. My piano's in DC, but yeah, I used to watch my brothers and sisters like struggle to play the piano, and I'd sit there and watch and watch and watch. And then one day I sat down and I played Beethoven for Elise, and they're like, "Who's playing?" And I did it all by ear and sound. Yeah.
So you played. You're a classical pianist. God, this is like, Barbara, what aren't you? No, you're an amazing person, honestly. And so you grew up in this family, the baby of the family. Then you decided to go to film school. Is that correct?
So I thought I would go be a film director. I went to Maryland and Michigan. So I went to Michigan. I ended up going back to Maryland. It was a top 10 film school at the time. And I was also like so homesick. I was such a baby, but I was such a baby. But anyway, I graduated from there, and I just remember sitting in, I don't know, RTVF, radio, television, and film class, 100, where there's like 300 people. It's like a stadium classroom, and the professor says 2 of you are going to become something. Like, that's the odds. And I looked around thinking, I wonder who the other person is.
I love that.
So while I didn't go into film, I still use all the skills I learned there. And so I kind of feel like I have a left-right brain. I've got the creative side, although, Jennifer Grasso always laughs because she thinks I'm trying to become an art director, and I fake it. I'm like, yeah, I'm in CCS art school. I wish I could do what Jennifer Grasso does, our executive creative director. But so I got a degree in film. And then I thought, oh, well, I'll marry a film degree with a law degree, and maybe I'll do entertainment law. And then I got into advertising, and it just was like fun. I was rising the ranks. It was glamorous. It was, married kind of business and strategy and creative. And I just, went all in.
So you got into the ad world in the 90s, right? That was kind of like your start was in the early 90s.
Yeah, I was 12, but yeah.
Yeah. You were like a preteen.
Yeah, I was like a child prodigy. Yeah.
You can't have 8 kids. Come on, Barb.
Yeah.
Barb, you 8 kids. Like you will be a chameleon. I'm not going to let anyone date you, even if they tried, they couldn't. So
hey, when I look in the mirror, I'm like still young at heart. I don't. Age is just a number,
Yeah, it's bullshit. So in the 90s, you got into the ad world after you got out of film school, and walk us through that, because I think it's such an interesting part of how you've gotten into what you're doing now.
Well, it all stems from one behavior, which is I love like the pressure of last minute. I don't know why. I thrive under pressure. And so I really was, I'm going to go to film, and I had this minor in journalism and advertising, and I had to take those required courses in college. And one of them was junior English, and the assignment was apply for a job. And if you remember back then, you actually had a classified section of the newspaper.
Right.
And so I had to comb through, find something. And then I think I went to the career office, and I'm like, oh my God, this paper is due at noon. And it's like 8 in the morning. So I, found this ad agency, and they were the agency for Marriott. And I wrote this compelling letter, and you got extra credit if you got an interview. And mind you, it's like 8 a.m. the day the paper's due. And then you have like a few days to get a response if you have a really compelling letter. And by noon, I turned the paper in, and I got a call, and they said, could you come this afternoon and interview? And then I got myself an internship. And that was my first break in advertising. And I kind of never left it. Did I ever tell you that?
No, you never told me a story. You told me, I think, when you worked for some small agency that had like a haircut client or something like that.
Right.
But that was the earliest I went. That was after you graduated. And so you started off in account management, kind of worked your way up.
Yeah, so I started at a little agency in Washington, D.C. And we had, probably the most famous client we had, which is a famous client today, then they weren't known, was IKEA.
Oh, wow.
I didn't work on it, but, the most senior person at Deutsch, Linda Sawyer, was an account executive. And I always admired her, even though she was probably only 3 or 4 years older than me. And I was like, oh, I want to be like Linda, But I got to work on a lot of interesting brands. And then I told my parents, I'm going to go to New York. That's where, that's Madison Avenue. And I want to see if I can make it there. And I'm going to go try and get a job. And I'm going to sleep on the couch of my best friend's apartment. And if I find a job, I'm staying. And if I don't, I'll be back in 6 weeks. And then I landed a job and, my career started taking off. And I got to do cool things. It was like the kind of the tail end of like real Mad Men. You know what I mean?
So you're doing these cool things, Madison Avenue. You guys are working crazy hours, working on these amazing campaigns.
Right.
And from that, as the story goes, you ended up at McDonald's, right?
Yeah, I did. So I ended up at a very once upon a time famous agency called Alley & Gargano. And there we worked on, fashion brands, grocery store brands, automotive, publishing, the parties. I mean, the parties were amazing. The gift giving was amazing then. And then I ended up moving back to the DC area when I started having kids because I wanted to be near my family. We're like big fat Lebanese family. You try to stay close to home. So, and then later the agency I was at, which was Donor, which is still a real great agency. They're actually down the street from me here. Was co-headquartered and they shifted everything to Detroit and I didn't want to move to Detroit at the time. And so I ended up at McDonald's Corporation and I was the director of marketing for the East Coast, or I should say the Mid-Atlantic of McDonald's. And then I got promoted into being a senior director at McDonald's. So it was a really, really interesting time because it was right at kind of the cusp of 2000. And it's hard to build growth for a mature brand, right? They were huge then. They're massively huge now, right? So, but I think then we probably had 13,000 restaurants. And I learned so much there. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. Everything from, how to build teams to, what's penny profit. I was like, penny profit, what does that mean? Understanding, the business model and the role that marketing plays, with running the business. Learning how to become a student of the business was a really important part of it. And so, are you frozen? You look frozen to me. Darius? I feel like I'm talking and you're frozen. Is he there? Hello? Oh gosh, he's got a power outage. Wow, well, I'm gonna keep telling my story. So anyway, McDonald's was great. I hope he comes back on the show or I'll be self-interviewing just like Rumi did. Did anybody see Rumi a couple weeks ago? He was Darius's interviewee, it's his son, and he was adorable. Oh my God. And this kid talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. And I don't know, he's got to be 8, 9 years old. I don't know. So Rumi, I'm going to take a cue from you and just keep talking. How's that sound? Can you guys hear me? Can somebody in the audience say, yeah, keep going? All right, cool. I think you guys can hear me. So anyway, I spent a couple years at McDonald's. And a lot of those lessons I share with my team now, and anybody that I meet with, especially people who are entering their career or people who are making a shift from going from the advertising world to the corporate marketing world. And it was a wonderful story, which was I went out with our vice president of the region, Maura Havenga, who was at McDonald's for many, many years, a very dear friend and mentor to me. And she said, we're going to ride restaurants. And I was like, ride restaurants? I don't know what that means. So I got in the car with her and we spent the day riding restaurants, literally going from restaurant to restaurant to restaurant. And we walked into the first one and she said, what do you see? And I'm like, oh gosh, this is a trick question. I see a lot of signs in the window. I'm like looking around, like I have my advertising hat on, right? And then I'm like commenting and she's going, yes, yes, yes. And then she said, well, here's what you should see. Look over there, there's garbage on the floor. This table needs to be wiped. Let's go walk the bathrooms. And then we picked up sponges and mops and whatever. And we are dressed up in suits, right? Like business attire of the time, not like today's business attire, like full on like suits, pantyhose, heels, the whole thing, right? And she said, go behind the counter. Oh gosh, here's Darius. He's calling me. Hi, I'm doing a roomie. I'm just going. Can you do it on your phone? Okay. Darius is having a thunderstorm. The power's out. I'm going to finish my story. Here, why don't we do this? Why don't I FaceTime? Well, are you going to come on your phone? Okay, all right. I just keep talking. It's just like Rumi and I, we're changing the name. It's not the Darius Greatness Show. It's the Rumi Barbara Greatness Show. Okay. Okay. All right. Bye. All right. So back to my story. She says, so Darius, let me bring you back up to speed.
Yep.
So I'm telling a story about my experience. This was such a good lesson when I was at McDonald's. And the VP of the region, Maura Havenga, who I have the utmost respect for till this day, says, we're riding restaurants. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Sorry, audience. I got to bring Darius up to speed here.
Yeah. Sorry. Hey, can you catch me up on your show?
Yeah, it's my show now. Sorry. Hannah, where are you? It's my show now. Okay. So she takes us to ride restaurants, and I'm telling you the story because there's a good lesson for everybody. Anyway, so she says, what do you see when you walk in the restaurant? I'm like, oh gosh, I better answer the right answer. And I look around, and of course I'm like, oh, there's a lot of signs in the window. And, I'm looking at the pricing, like, what is this is like a trick question. And in the end, she says, there's garbage on the floor. There's salt in the tables and they need to be wiped down. Let's go check out the bathrooms. And then the next thing you know, we're grabbing mops and sponges and we are cleaning, right? And that was just the beginning, right? I was doing marketing and advertising, but I would go into the restaurants and run the cash register, just like when I was 10. I would do the sandwich line. I would salt the French fries and make French fries. Why? I don't view that as, hey, that's an extracurricular activity of my job as a marketer. That's required, right? I have to understand the experience of the customer and the experience of the teammate. I have to know what it feels like when they're going, hey, my customer wants that Big Mac, but hold the onions. And the pressure that they're feeling going, hey, sandwich prep line, get my sandwich done. And the customer's like, hey, where's my sandwich, right? So all those things are super important. So when I talk to anybody now, I say, hey, I don't care if you're working in mortgage or you're working in fast food. I had a client that was home goods once upon a time. You have to experience what the customer experiences, and you have to experience what the teammate experiences. Right? What is it like on the phone in a call center of a mortgage company, right? And how do we create marketing moments and find all those wonderful cues to deliver an amazing marketing experience? So the whole concept of brand and brand identity is only can deliver at all those amazing touch points. So that's my McDonald's story. Sorry, it took a long time, but I was trying to bridge the gap of a thunderstorm and electrical outage.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a delay on my side. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So that was the one thing that kind of blew my mind when we first started working together, was this idea that to truly understand the marketing, you had to go super deep into how business got done, because I think there's this misunderstanding that most people think it's just about making things look pretty. And what really amazed me about working with you was, no, it's about how are you actually delivering. And you said something to me when we first started together, and you said, look, you guys have to deliver in order for me to make you look good, right? I can make you look good, but if you don't deliver, this isn't, you're not going to get the value out of this. And
I mean, if the machine is not working, the marketing's not going to work. So even though there might be times where we create brilliant ideas, just, mind-blowing concepts, but then we're digging and we realize, oh my God, the sales team isn't functioning properly. And so we may turn on the marketing machine, but the sales machine needs help. We got to hold on the marketing and get the sales team ready for prime time, because all those marketing dollars are going to be wasted. And so we don't want to do that. That's not smart marketing, right? Sometimes we've got to shut down, a product or a line of business. We did that together, Darius. I think it was in my second week. I'm like, why are we doing these? This doesn't ladder up to what our brand or our business goals are. We have to, it's almost like, you can't put on those cool jeans unless you can fit in them.
Oh, I was going to say you can't put on the cool jeans unless you're wearing the cool shoes.
Well, yeah, that too, right? But I mean, it's that whole concept of it all has to work together, and marketing, and it's same thing in B2B versus B2C, right? I remember when I used to be at Kirschenbaum Bond agency in New York, and we won home goods, and we had a new president, and she said, I really want to learn more about the brand. I want to understand what you guys are doing, the brand we're about to launch and all that. I said, great, meet me on Saturday at 10 a.m. at the time I was living in Greenwich, Connecticut. Meet me at the Home Goods in Stamford. And she's like, okay. So she comes and she's like, what are we doing? I said, grab a shopping cart and let's shop the aisles. We need to experience what their customer experience is, which is all about the find, right? All about the find. And I wanted her to experience the find. You can't find that marketing intersection unless you go experience it. So experiencing the product is a requirement, not an extracurricular activity. It is critical for your marketing.
So, you said something to me like when we first started working together, and as I worked with you, what I realized, which is part of what I think what you're talking about right now, is that what I learned was that great marketing amplifies what's already happening in the business, right? And so it's like a massive microphone that turned all the way up, and if it's something great that's happening there,
right,
then more people hear it, and if it's not, then more people hear it, and it's not going to go well for you. And so I understand your reasoning around wanting to understand the product. Can I ask you a question going back, because I just think most of the audience who don't know you, which a lot do, but some may not, can you tell them what your claim to fame is with McDonald's? Because I think that's such a cool. Did you tell them that when I was?
No, I didn't. I was waiting for you. So when I became the senior director of marketing, it was just an exciting time, right? And we were getting clobbered at the time by Wendy's because they had the 99-cent value menu. So they were killing us on value, and they were killing us on quality. I don't know how a Baconator with 8 pieces of bacon, like 3 patties, cheese, lettuce, and tomato is healthier and higher quality than a Big Mac. But maybe it was because of the full lettuce, leaf, and tomato. So we knew we had to kind of change our business model. So I got to be part of the team who launched the dollar menu, because we needed growth strategies, right? We were trying to grow revenue, grow store volume, and you can only do it a few ways, right? You can open more stores, or you can have more day parts. But what we said was, at the time, the company was very focused on like bacon ranch crispy chicken and all these kind of flavored sandwiches, which are great, and price, right? Well, you can't keep edging prices up and grow. Like, you can't charge $10 for Big Mac, right? So we had to get back to our core, which was hamburgers and French fries, and create bundles, dollar menu bundles, right? You can add it up and build out a meal. Dollar menu.
Nice.
That's what we did. So there was a whole group, and it started in New York. And when you're at McDonald's, because they're so huge, you have what's called rolling thunder. And so you launch something in one market or one region, and then you roll it out across the nation. Because they're so massive, you'd throw the stock market off, right? Like when they did fruit and yogurt parfait, we launched at that time, you'd have to roll it out with rolling thunder, because you deplete the strawberry and blueberry market.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, right. Like when they went to all white meat chicken nuggets, like that takes time to make a lot of white meat.
You're like, do you know how many more chickens they had to kill for that?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. A lot of chicken, has to be produced.
Wow, I guess that's true if you're that big, right?
Yeah.
So that's so
What
cool.
an amazing company. I learned so much there.
Right. And so you had these amazing experiences working at some of the biggest, best companies in the world, best agencies in the world. And then somehow you tripped and fell in the mortgage industry.
How the hell did that happen? Yeah. Well, so my career went on in advertising. So I didn't stay at McDonald's long, because I got married and moved to Michigan and had more kids. I probably would have stayed there had I not moved to Michigan. But I went back to Donor, which was the agency I was at in Baltimore. I joined them. So I was there. I was a two-timer, and then I went to New York again. So I've been to a few agencies. I kind of grew up through the system on the account management side, but always pitched, and pitching is the lifeline of the agency world. So, it's a different way of thinking, and maybe, sometimes I underestimate the stress that I put on the people who work with me, because I'm used to working in new business mode, which is like, hey, we have 6 weeks to solve the problem. So we got to solve the world and have a silver bullet in 6 weeks. Why is that so hard? Because I was trained to do that, right, through all the years. And so sometimes when people come into that environment, like, oh my God, we move at a clip. I mean, when you and I did what we did for TMS, we launched a brand in 97 days. That's unheard of.
Yeah,
I presented you a brand concept and a rough cut on day 9.
Yep.
Right? Day 9. Research was done, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, you've totally screwed me, because my expectations are totally whacked now.
Yeah, totally, right? Yeah. So anyway, so I went on and continued in advertising, and then agencies merge and split and all that kind of stuff. So I found myself kind of deciding, do I want to continue in the agency world? I was living in Michigan at the time, or do I want to go back to New York? I preferred to stay in Michigan, as you know, because I was recently widowed and I didn't want to disrupt my kids. And I got connected with a guy in the mortgage industry whose son was running this mortgage company. And I was like, well, this will just be like a consulting gig to buy me time as I decide what my next move is going to be. And I got in there and I was like, wow, this is cool, right? Like I could take all these things I've learned through the years from McDonald's and all these agencies and brands. I mean, I worked across all these different categories, from fashion to, I worked with Gore-Tex, Fila, you name it, like you name the category, to high tech, finance, healthcare, across the board. I could take all those best practices and bring them to the mortgage industry, which was like, it still is a very nascent marketing category. And so they brought me in, and probably the funniest thing, I'm like, oh, I have this big glamorous job, for years in advertising, as the CMO of these big agencies. And I get to this little mortgage company, like, hi, can we have your picture to put you on the website? I'm like, yeah, no. and they're like, why? And I'm like, well, we're going to redo the website. And when we redo the website, you can have my picture.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't go from McCann and Camelewall to the little mortgage company in Troy, Michigan. So, but anyway, the story there was amazing, and I think that's when you started stalking me.
Yeah, but right around 2000. Well,
Yeah.
in my own defense, like I had just started building my business in 2013 at the Money Source, and I was like, who has the best marketing in mortgage? And I was like, oh, man, UWM's marketing is freaking awesome. I love their marketing. So I just thought that you guys just kept coming out with great marketing, and I was like, their marketing is so amazing. It looks like Virgin or something. It just looked different.
Was like fancy.
It's so you got fancy stuff over there.
Fancy stuff. It was like high quality paper.
Young's wearing shoes. Yeah.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. I think they were like, what walked in the door here, But it was definitely like, a exciting marketing challenge. It was also a very humbling experience because I'm walking into a company that, even though they were producing $8 billion in loans, I think 8 or 10 billion when I got there, nobody knew who they were. And I came from Madison Avenue, like famous ad agencies. They're like, where'd you go? You're where? And I'm like, you wait and see, right? So then, I started pulling in my people. I got to pick the best of the best from all the agencies. And, Detroit's such an important advertising community. People don't really realize that because of the big three. Big three automotive now. I will say there's a lot of big mortgage here too now, right?
Huge,
you've got UWM, you've got Quicken Loans, you've got Home Point, you've got Caliber has offices here, Flagstar, right? So it's become a mortgage city. But at the time, it was like, mortgage, like what the hell, right? Humbling because they were delivering $8 billion in loans with basically no marketing, right? I mean, their jumbo loans were called the Big and Easy, okay? And the advertising looked like, the stuff you see in the back of a bad magazine, So it was like, how are we going to bring the brand to life and kind of tell the story of this amazing mortgage company that had a beautiful culture, right? Very like intense, like it was like a sports team, right? And kind of ignite it internally and then tell the world externally. It's like I always used to say, it's like I was like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, because all she really needed to do was look inside to go home, right? And so all I did at this company, United Shore and United Wholesale Mortgage, was like click my heels and tell the story of what was inside the company. I'm walking into an industry where it's like all about rate sheets and a box of donuts, right? Feet on the street, knock on the door. Hey, you got a loan for me? Here's a box of donuts. Call me when you got one, right? And what we showed is the power of marketing. And that's obviously worked because you stalked me and then you hunted me down and then you dialed up your strength woo and won me over to your company. So I thought I'd be there forever. Quite honestly, like I said at the beginning of the show, I thought, you were the guy that I was going to refer to my friend. I had another colleague from my old McCann days who I thought, she needs a job like me and I'll give her to this guy. And then, you and I just simpatico.
Right there.
Right there. It's like,
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So look, if you have a hard stop in 4 minutes.
Oh my gosh. How did that go so fast?
Yeah, Barbara's like, an hour? What are we going to talk about? I'm like,
I don't know. I think we need another hour, Darius. What are you talking about?
Barbara, we could go for 3 hours. We haven't hung out enough recently. You forget that we burn hours like people burn matches.
I know. The best part of the story is
the pink unicorn, baby.
Pink unicorn.
Well, right? Why don't we do a part 2?
I think we do part 2 because I think they need to understand what's the role of pink unicorn.
We got to talk about core values and how you use those in marketing. We got to talk about
what we did at TMS is the ultimate embodiment of taking your core value equation and telling that, using that message and that DNA of the brand as a way to activate a company and basically turn on its machismo. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget when we launched the new TMS brand with all our psychedelic colors, and everybody kept saying, where did this brand come from? Like, who are you? Where'd you come from? Pink unicorns and rainbows, right? Yeah. And then we started getting our door knocked on by big money.
Yeah.
Money, money. We go back to the song, money, money, money.
Money, 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 peanut butter jelly.
Jelly.
I want, yeah, we're gonna have to do part 2 because we're like literally halfway through this.
All right. Well, this was fun. Obviously, this is the perfect format for me because I can just talk by myself for an hour. It's great.
Barbara and I are talking. I'm like, you need to have a live stream show. And she's like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm like, you don't know. Just you wait. You come on my show.
I know. Well, when I launch my show, you promise you'll come on my show?
Of course I will.
I know. I don't know. I think we booted you off the show. It's the Rumi Barber show.
My son and you're going to do the show.
Yeah, Rumi has better Wi-Fi than you do.
It's true. He's killing me. So, Barbara, in between now and our next show, where can people find you? I mean, guys, if you're lucky enough to be able to get Barbara and her team to work with you, you got to hit them up. But where can they find you?
Yeah. So, so you can find us at ludwigplus.com. And you have to spell it out, but it's really a plus in our logo, right? ludwigplus.com. And we're doing cool things. We are operating like an outsourced marketing department for a lot of our clients. We actually get presented to many of our clients' internal teams as CMO in the marketing department. And we are doing everything from branding, logos, identity, to advertising, to architecting sales strategies and everything else in between, right? And we're working across multiple categories, and we've got just an amazing team. Our team is like top notch. And we were very fortunate that when the word got out, they were knocking on our door and we had to turn people away, which is a great position to be in as a 1-year-old agency. But we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary just a few weeks ago. And let's talk.
Yeah, you guys, good. Seriously, I would have shot somebody to have a Ludwig Plus when I was stalking Barbara, but I did the next best thing. I just stalked her and hired her. And then now she's running this agency that, I'm kid you not, if you're running a company, you want to really transform your growth and your marketing, there's probably no better person on this planet than Barbara to talk to about it. So,
thanks, Darius.
No, it's an easy thing to say because it's true. So, guys, connect with her. We got one more show coming up today with Jeff Birkland, one of my great friends, one of the smartest guys I know. I call him the robot. He'll love it when he comes on here. And guys, at the Real Darius M on Facebook, follow us, see these shows, subscribe on YouTube, or go to www.therealdarius.com and sign up for our newsletter so you can hear the behind the scenes of me and Barbara talking and all the good fun stuff. And we got book launch a week from Tuesday, so I'm so pumped. And oh my gosh, there she goes again. We're good.
I can't wait for part 2.
Part 2. Like, guys, we'll see you guys later. Barbara, you the woman. Peace, everybody. Be out of here.
Peace.